to handle the unknowns, and you've listed several unknowns, the known known, the known unknowns, and the unknown knowns.
It's a bit of a mind bender, isn't it? It is. One of the things, we learned this through the crisis situations, is that you never know everything. You often don't know as much as you'd like to know in order to make decisions, deploy resources, whatever it happens to be. So you have to understand how to deal with ambiguity and how to deal with the unknown. And so we've broken it down into these 4 buckets. So the known, that's what you know, and you can verify. Absolutely, we know this happened. Your known unknowns, this is as you're driving to learn more, you know you don't know it, but you know who to ask. How many people were hurt? Was anybody killed? Was this affected? You know which questions to ask and of whom to ask them. And most situations can get resolved right in those 2 buckets. That's day to day. But when you get to a bigger crisis, you get to the unknown knowns. That means somebody knows it, but you may not know who it is. You've got to always be asking questions. The big question to ask is, what don't we know? Often leaders will ask, what do we know? And that's pretty easy. They put it on the board, whatever they do with it. But asking what don't we know, it gets people thinking differently and say, oh, has anyone else here handled this kind of situation before? Who do we know who may have a contact in that other organization? What's going to happen? Who can we call and ask about this? So it really gets you thinking more expansively. And then, of course, the unknown unknowns, which you can't really anticipate. And that's where it requires a lot of imagination. And that's most useful in planning ahead of time, doing scenario planning. What might happen that we haven't considered? That might then prompt you to look at the situation differently and realize maybe you know more than you thought you knew, or you know now things that you need to figure out to try and populate that bucket of the known knowns.
And it's scary because you don't even know who to go to ask.
Exactly. But like one organization we work with, it's a global industrial company. They've begun to put together a catalog of all the crises they have faced, and they are touched in some way by pretty much everything because they have a big global footprint. Who has handled flooding, a plane crash, whatever it happens to be? So if it happens over here, they know who to call and say, okay, what did you learn? What did we do? So it's not just a manual and that's an after-action review, but it is, so how did you handle the boss? Or what was unexpected? What did you learn through that? So they can tap into those unknown knowns and make more of them known.
It seems as if you're suggesting that every business leader have a crisis plan in place. I mean, don't wait till it hits. Spend some time thinking about the worst that can happen.
Absolutely, I think they should do that. I think you should be thinking about sort of best case, worst case. We seem to be in a growth industry, sad to say. Those of us who do crisis leadership, and you look at the headlines, and organization after organization finds them in some kind of crisis. So being ready for that. And again, when you're thinking about taking this systems view and this view of accepting complexity, that's the way your business has to operate these days. Again, nobody's static. The change seems to be accelerating, be it technology, be it social attitudes, be it consumer preferences. That stuff is all very dynamic. So taking the systems view and thinking, when you assume that things aren't going to go the way you think they will, it gets you ready to change. You actually can avert some of the crises, because the crisis is often because you didn't react fast enough, you weren't prepared to react. I do think that every organization, particularly one of any size, should have a crisis management team. So the bad thing happens, whatever it happens to be, you know you're going to call upon to respond to this. And they've done some practicing, not just on what to do, but how they're going to be together. So how are we going to function as a team? Who's going to do what? Getting the benefits of doing that are actually you get to work better together every day because you know each other better and you've gone through the questioning process. So that's really important.